Rodolfo Roman of The Roman Show. Thank you for visiting our YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe down there. Make sure you follow us on our socials at The Roman Show on Twitter, Roman Show Media on Instagram and Facebook. Well, this interview is brought to you by Manscaped. Make sure that you purchase your Manscaped right now. 20% off your purchase by using the promo code The Roman Show. That's Manscaped. Take some time, guys. Shave your boys down there. You got plenty of time during this quarantine. All right, coming up next, Jim Ross on The Roman Show talks about his career, his new book, and The Rock running for president. Welcome back, everyone, to The Roman Show, and it's a true honor to have this gentleman here on the program, the legendary commentator, Mr. Jim Ross. Of course, you can see him every Wednesday or hear him as well on AEW Dynamite, and his new book, Under the Black Hat, is available for you to purchase and read. Jim, I have to tell you, exceptional book. And what really impresses me the most, Jim, and again, thank you very much for speaking to me, is how do you keep all these stories? How did you jot down all this information? Did you keep a diary to write all these stories? Because you're very descriptive in every story that you tell.
No diary, just memory. You know, they're all significant moments in my life. And, see, I'm of the age group that I'm not a millennial.
Mm-hmm.
I have lived a long life with a bunch of amazing experiences. A lot of the negative ones I cast aside because I don't care to bring them with me. I got no room in my carry-on anymore for negativity.
Mm-hmm.
But the significant moments in our business that I was a part of, I'll always remember. So it's just it was my life, man. It was my life. It's what I did 24/7. So how could I forget that other than just getting more senile in old age? But no, it's a big part of my life, and I am very grateful for those moments that I got to share under the black hat.
You know, I remember reading a part where you were talking about how much work you had when they threw you in that opportunity to commentate XFL games, and you even share how much you were paid for, $1,500 or whatever it was. And you talk about how much time you spent home with your wife and being at home in Oklahoma. Those were really tough times for you because you essentially didn't have time for yourself. It was you go into the office, you handle your business with payroll, as you mentioned, and dealing with the boys and Vince, and then you had to commentate on the programs, and then you also have to worry about the XFL. How were you able to just keep sane through all that amount of work? You only had, I think, a Sunday, as you mentioned, was the only time that you had to take a break.
Yeah, well, you know, I loved it, though. I was born on a farm, man, in eastern Oklahoma, only child. I started doing chores with the men folk when I was very young. I'm used to hard work. I like hard work. I don't like inactivity. I want to maximize my minutes in life because our tomorrows are not guaranteed. So it's just my nature. It's how I was raised. It's my culture. We work hard and we try to live our best life. And I don't think you can live your best life if you're not actively engaged and emotionally invested in what you do for a living.
And you're absolutely right about that. Once you stop the wheels, you know, it's kind of like, what do I do next? You have to keep it moving, and you're definitely a testament about that. How you still keep at it. You're still strong in the game. Everyone, of course, looks up to you as a role model with what you've done in the business, and there's no doubt that you definitely have left something significant for us to enjoy. Now, looking back at the book, I remember a tale that you were telling there about how you were the one in the forefront when Vince McMahon needed to lay someone off or fire someone. You were the person that had to relay the news. And I want to go back to this story here where you talk about Jerry Lawler, of course, your former partner as a commentator, and you had to address to him first that his wife was being fired. Obviously, that's a tough role to play because here you go, you got to advise him that Vince is firing your wife, and then you have to keep working with him, although at that point he said he wanted to leave. But tell me about that tale, and that's a rough thing to do. This is a guy you share every single night. and you had a different perspective as far as Cat. Other people said otherwise, but taking back into that, and how did you? Can you just describe the scene to that and Jerry's demeanor as far as when you told him the tale? I know he said, "Listen, would you do the same if they fired your wife?"
Hello?
Yeah, I said I was describing as far as Jerry Lawler's story when you had to inform him the firing of Cat.
Well, obviously, he asked me if I would do the same thing. I said yes. I probably would. But you still hate the situation.
Right.
I didn't agree with that termination, but it got out of my control. Jerry tried to leverage Vince and convince Vince that was the wrong thing to do. Let her go home and sit for a while and bring her back. But it didn't work out that way. But sometimes you have to let people go that you don't really believe they deserve to be let go of. That's the nature of being. It's not wrestling, man. It's not about wrestling. Mm-hmm. It's not about. It's that way. This is life we're talking about. Mm-hmm. There's 6 million people right now on unemployment, and we're uproaring about 30 or 40 people in the wrestling business that also got laid off. So I sometimes wonder where the hell our heads are. But we're living in the most tumultuous, unprecedented times ever, and I'm at JRSBBQ on Twitter. Well, what do you think about this? Who you think they should hire? Man, I'm worried more about right now living until tomorrow. I'm in that high risk group for this coronavirus. You think I'm real concerned about who's going to get hired tomorrow? If I was AEW, I would hire nobody tomorrow. There's no reason to hire anybody tomorrow. And these talents that got laid off, I hope none of them get onto a massive pity party. Come on, man. You think you're the only person in the wrestling business that's ever been set down or cast away or taken out of your job? Give me a break. The bottom line is it's unfortunate. Some people, you wonder why they were let go. There's got to be a reason behind the scenes. But what about Rusev? Oh, he had this great push. It's all about the push, man. Talk about that on Grill and JR every Thursday. It's all about the push. Well, something came up there that made the company not want to do business with Rusev. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. He's always been a nice kid to me. I think he's got a great upside. He's never reached his potential. So I just believe all these guys have just got to reset. They got to look. They're independent contractors. They're entrepreneurs. How do you make your brand better? If your brand on a shelf of a store stops selling, how do you resurrect it? You just do the same thing over and over and over, expecting change? Well, let me tell you, that doesn't work. So if I were these guys, being let go by WWE would not be the end of the world. Trust me, I've been there. Mm-hmm. And it would not end your life. If you're that weak and that shallow, that this is the only thing in the world I ever wanted to do is only be in a WWE. It's my dream. I love this. Then you need to recess. Hit the reset button, improve your brand, come back better than ever. Because if you're good enough and you got a plan, then you'll get hired. That's simple as that.
You're right about that.
Somebody will bring you over. Somebody will hire you, I promise you. But don't burn bridges. Don't go to a pity party.
And you're right about that. Jim, I know you've been on Busted Open, the radio program in Sirius XM. I was listening to Billy Ray. That's exactly what he was saying, but he was also saying that this is an opportunity for them, that hopefully they save some money for these rainy days, to have a plan of attack. Because like you said, they're independent contractors, and you never know when you're going to let go. It even says it on your contract.
Yeah, and a lot of talents they get in this bulletproof mentality where they're all about buying material possessions, another Rolex, another car, more hair extensions, another boob job, whatever the hell it may be. Those are material things that you can live without. And hopefully some of these guys that are being laid off or furloughed, whatever the hell that means, that they have saved some money. And there's this little thing called income tax. You're an independent contractor. You're obligated to pay taxes 4 times a year. Mm-hmm. They call it your quarterlies. I wonder how many of those guys that got laid off are actually up to date on their quarterlies. So then it becomes a matter of, well, I've neglected my personal finances, and now I don't have a job. So what am I going to do? Because I didn't really prepare for this. Well, maybe you learn a valuable lesson on your future and saving money for the future, paying your taxes on time. Basic fundamental things that a lot of younger people, their 20s, early 30s, that doesn't resonate with them. But for us old-timers that have been doing it for a long time, it's the law, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
You're expected to file a tax return every quarter as an independent contractor. And the sad part about it is, you know what it's going to be because they take it from your earnings, and you know what you're earning, and so you know what you're going to pay, whatever 20, 30%, whatever it is. I don't know what the percentage is,
mm-hmm.
but have you done anything to prepare for that? Did you lay some money back aside to take care of your tax debt? I would say in the majority of the cases, the answer would be no, and that's really, really sad.
Agreed. And hopefully, if they don't learn their lesson today, they take it on for the next time around, because all of this is affecting all of us financially. Of course, not just pro wrestling, overall. How many families right now, they can't even feed their kids and their wives because they don't have a job, they don't have anything, and they're depending on the stimulus check that, what's $1,200 going to do for you when you have a family of, say, of 6, and you still have to pay the rent and pay the food and so forth. But Jim, we talked a little bit about XFL, and as you know, this is another company that, because of the times that we're in, the COVID-19 has impacted the economy, and unfortunately, the XFL shut down. Question for you: Did you get to see an opportunity to see the new XFL 2.0? Your thoughts on it, and if you were still involved somehow, some way, would you have loved to commentate another football game? Because I know you talk about that in your book. That was your dream, that was one of your top things to do, and that is commentate a football game, which you did with the XFL, and you've done with other games as well in your career.
It probably would have been fun. My only concern is I had a lot of friends that were working in the XFL, and now they don't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, because the XFL filed bankruptcy, is some of those guys, namely my good friend Bob Stoops, who's the coach of the Dallas franchise, if they got paid. And I haven't asked him, but nonetheless, those are what I worry about. I missed an opportunity. JR could have done that game. I could have, and I probably had fun doing it. But now when I think of the XFL, I think, do my buddies get made whole from a financial side before they shut the doors down? And I don't know the answer to that. That's a bigger concern to me than, I would like to call that game. Right. I am a football guy. I'd go call a high school game if I got the opportunity. It doesn't matter to me. I've got a national broadcasting gig with AEW. When the travel is commensurate, I'm on TV every Wednesday night, prime time, 2 hours. So I got a great opportunity. I got a great job with a wonderful company, and I'm having the time of my life when we're able to go to work. So I felt badly about it. I thought it had a chance. They had good broadcasters. They had a good TV network on Fox and on ESPN. So I thought that they had a fighting chance. But nobody could figure in the impact that this coronavirus is going to have on every single human being walking the face of our earth. Everybody. No one is protected. My 2 granddaughters, I got a junior in high school and a 7th grade. They lost their other grandpa on Sunday.
Wow.
The coronavirus.
Wow.
That could have been this grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God it wasn't. But it can happen to any of us. And this is a much more serious issue than layoffs or whatever, But back to your question. Sure, I felt bad about them closing. I don't want to see any business close. We need our economy to be regenerated. But right now may not be the time. I don't know that answer. But I don't know. My gut tells me we're not out of the woods yet by a long shot.
No, it's going to take some time, JR. As you know, some doctors are saying that they won't have any live events with packed stadiums until sometime mid next year. But of course, we don't know. That's just what the experts are saying. But hopefully, you're right. Hopefully, things turn around at a quick quick time, but as long as we're all safe. JR, when you left WWE, there was a period, sometime after that, TNA or Impact Wrestling was trying to pick up buzz, and it was at one point it even went head to head with WWE and Monday Night Raw, and we all know how that ended up. But was there any communication with you and Impact Wrestling of perhaps working together? This was a time where the AJ Styles, the Samoa Joe, the Jeff Hardys, the Christians, the Kurt Angles were there at that point. Did that ever come around your front door?
With TNA?
Yeah.
Well, I had a meeting with Dixie Carter and her family. Had a great time interacting with her father Bob. Mm-hmm. They flew me from here in Norman down to their ranch in North Texas. That was on Easter weekend, by the way, several years ago. Okay. We had one talk, but they weren't ready to make the change that I felt like I needed to have to be comfortable. I didn't want to report to. If I was going to report to anybody, it's going to be to one person. That would be to Dixie. But I had to have control over the talent roster and the talent pay, and I needed. Like Bill Parcells said one time, if you expect me to cook the meals, you got to let me buy some of the groceries. And I needed to buy the groceries. And Bob Carter understood that, and I think probably would have gone for it. But there was a logical idea. I said, look, I need this autonomy to rebuild your brand, to make you some money. And guess what? If I don't do what I tell you I'm going to do, you fire my ass. That's easy. You know what Jerry Jones would do, the Cowboys. It didn't work. Get a new guy. So, but nothing serious other than that one meeting. And, Dixie and I have been friends since. And I've always been in the mindset that it's important for every wrestling company to do well, to make a little profit or a big profit. And when the WWE does really well, it trickles down to everybody else. It has for years, and it will probably continue because they have the lion's share of the marketplace. They're the big dog in the yard, and when the big dog is happy and being fed and productive, then the other dogs in the neighborhood do pretty good too.
JR, looking back at your legendary career that you've had so far, and you continue doing it, you've caught some of the most monumental matches of all time. But is there one match that you would have loved to call that maybe you just weren't even born at that time, or you just weren't involved in what way? But is there one match that you would have loved to call?
Yeah, I would love to call Mick Foley's first WWE title win. I was off work with Bell's palsy, facial paralysis at the time. But I was very pleased because Mick was one of my favorite hires. I hired him over the objections of several, including Vince. And so when Mick got that first title win, I would have loved to have been there for that moment. But I did watch it on TV, but that's the one match I could think of that I would have really liked to have called if given the opportunity.
And Gerald, of course, you mentioned AEW Dynamite doing very well on Wednesday nights on TNT. And we just got word this week The Rock has had a social media interview with the fans and was asked if he's an AEW or if he watches the product, and he sure does. Now, you've had your fair share, of course, of calling his matches, but you've had calling some of the matches that had monumental or significant people like President Donald Trump. And The Rock has kind of toyed a little bit as far as running for office or for president. What do you think Commander-in-Chief The Rock in the White House, how do you think the states would be? How do you think it would be?
Well, first of all, he'd probably get elected. Secondly, I would not advise him to take such a drastic cut in pay to try to clean up a mess that professional politicians have made. These politicians today are so greedy and so selfish that they make the coronavirus become a political issue. This side of the aisle, that side of the aisle. It's amazing to me that nobody pays attention to how much money these congressmen and senators are worth when they first come to Washington, and how much they're worth on the same salary when they leave Washington. Nobody has either the balls or the intellect to ask that question. The Rock would make. Here's the deal, man. I knew from the minute I met him, the minute we talked, the first lunch we had, he's special. I believe in my heart, I felt he could do anything. And he hasn't proven me wrong yet. He's that's how I look at that. He'd be successful in anything he does. And he would probably, if people would like to have a breath of fresh air from what we've been accustomed to in the White House. And so I don't think he'll ever run for office, but who knows? If he decides he wants to at some point for a brand new challenge and to make global history again in a major way, you never say never. But I'm a believer in Dwayne Johnson, and whatever Dwayne Johnson says he's going to do, I am never going to doubt him.
It will be quite interesting, absolutely, JR. And last question here, of course, where AEW has been very successful. Of course, you're taking care of yourself because it's COVID-19. I understand, too, that their pay-per-view is going to move forward in May. So what can we expect this year in AEW? Of course, we've been getting some great storytelling, some great matches. Also, I've loved the fact that some of these young guys, these indie talent, have had an opportunity to show up on Dynamite. Some of these kids are just pinching themselves. But what can we anticipate for AEW this coming year, 2020?
I think more growth, giving young talents that are hungry and are doing the right things in and out of the ring, more opportunity to grow, give them the ball, let them play. I think that's going to be good. We got a lot of young talents, they're 20-somethings, that are on the cusp of, as they said in the business, getting over. It's just a matter of continuing that progression. And they got to understand that they got to continue to bring everything they got every week, pay attention, learn, and contribute to the brand of AEW. But I don't specifically I don't have any idea what matches. I don't know what's going to be headlining the pay-per-view, but it'll be entertaining. It'll make sense, and you'll have guys that are hungry that want to live their dream, and on national TV as a pro wrestler. You'll see that. So just continued growth, building on youth, and using our established guys like a Jericho or a Moxley or a Hager. Some of these guys have been around a while. Brody Lee, Lance Archer. We have to have those guys be productive. The Omegas, the Bucks, Cody, of course, and Mox, as I mentioned, they got to continue to get better in their game. So I guess you could say quite simply, what can you expect from AEW in 2020? Improvement and continual improvement from every phase of our game. So that's a general answer, but it's a truthful answer.
One thing I've been enjoying with this whole COVID-19 and some of the events, of course, there's no fans. All the wrestling content, which is only the only sports that's been on TV that's giving you fresh content, is the Chris Jericho and Tony Schiavone. Has been very entertaining, JR. Have you sat back and listened to this and just enjoy it for yourself as well?
Of course I have. I watch every week. Just because I'm not on TV doesn't mean I don't watch the product. Mm-hmm. So absolutely, they have a different style, a different approach than I have. It means nothing other than it's different. They're entertaining and they're doing a good job. Schiavone's done some of his best work ever, and Jericho's a natural. So their success isn't a surprise to me. I hired Chris Jericho in WWE. Mm-hmm. I wrote a lot about him in Under the Black Hat, about how I got that deal done. Yep. And Tony and I have been friends since the late 80s in WCW. So I pushed Tony Khan, I encouraged Tony Khan to hire Tony Schiavone. And it wasn't a hard sales job. He's just too valuable. He's just got great skill set, does Tony, and he can do so many things for us, and he does. So I'm happy with the work those guys are doing, and I can't wait to get back and join Tony and Excalibur back at our table.
Yeah, we can't wait to see you as well, JR. I want to thank you so very much, and again, thank you for sharing all those great stories. You talk about, when you hired Jericho, you're right, and I also like the story you tell about how you took Eddie Guerrero to Vince McMahon's home and so forth, and how you mentioned he's so short. There's the funny tales that you could share and read there on JR's new book. Again, thank you so very much, JR. Take care of yourself, and we hope to see you very, very soon on TV on AEW Dynamite every Wednesday night.
Okay. Okay, buddy. I appreciate you checking out jrsbbq.com. It's a little labor of love, and folks are going to enjoy what we got there. Are all of our barbecue sauces, condiments, and that great book offer that gets you free shipping and a customized autograph. So I appreciate your time, and thanks for helping me promote Under the Black Hat.
My pleasure, dear.
This is The Roman Show.